Voice of Job Seekers. This is Mark. I'm right back with you as I'm joined by Mark Brenner, who's an author, adjunct professor at California State University, as well as CEO of his own firm, with career management, and also works extensively with veterans. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. I'm well.
Good. Now, people who are watching, you're going to see that there's going to be a slight delay when Mark gives his answer. So please be patient. He's got some gold to give us. So he's going to give some great advice as far as some of the job search trends that he's seeing with his clients and some solutions that he's come up with. And when the real magic is going to happen is when I throw it on the podcast feed. We'll probably air it in January. It's going to be like nothing ever happens. So please be patient and waiting. Don't get frustrated because it's just a little quirk between Restream and some of the feeds. And if you've been watching streams for a while since the pandemic began, anything can happen in live stream. So we're just going to roll with it. So Mark, we're talking about job search trends and some of the things that you've seen with your clients. And I know that we've talked about several last time that we talked about as far as interviewing and things like that. But you might have some other things that you've seen lately that's come through, especially since we've seen layoffs a lot now and that we're seeing people going through different career transitions. So, what are some of the things that are happening that you're seeing as far as trends?
I think that I'm seeing uh, some that, that the leveled off a little bit.
Mhm.
It's still the process of the things that I have found in the right position with the right company are interviewing and if you get if you get the network interview comes very easily. It's I think that job boards are not using company and doing networking and that right position for you. Best way to approach it. In the interview, the theme behind the interview, just remember it's your interview too. As much as an interview for them, and you have to make sure you're the information you need so you about the job that you're looking for. Extremely important that you questions during the interview to company that you want to work for.
The interesting part about interviews is that it's so different from company to company. It's hard to tell people the exact formula on how to interview and what to expect for interviews. And I think one of the discussions I had before is just people critically thinking, okay, from the employer standpoint, what does the employer need from me? And if they met me, if I was their employer and they met me, what would I expect from me? And what, as a person that I'm interviewing, what do I need to give them? And a lot of the pre-thought is really where the magic happens when you research companies and find out what their needs actually are, and being able to relay it in a prescriptive conversational manner, throw some personality in there, and that way you can get the full breadth of what they need because they'll either correct you or they'll insert or they'll confirm what you already know.
Yeah, and that's 100% important thing that we have to look at. That if we were to go back a couple companies were looking for your technical ability, 70% of the interview was based on your tech job. Last few years, and companies are more soft skills and your behavioral skills. That's it. It's probably at this time on how, for example, have uh, um, taking for, but you have this culture, uh, you'll probably interview process or get the job. Have the soft skills, you could be immediately. And I think one of the most important process is to prepare yourself. The person with whom you're interviewing, the company, and what the company does, so that when you're asked some of the, you'll be able to answer them. And it all into having that interview, what the company's about, how the company management treats the employees. Is it fear? Is it management by equality, apathy? Approach it that where your is the kind of job I want, or it's happened to me before, where I've been at, and I have decided I didn't want to work for the company. You can nicely end the interview at that point to the next position.
Yeah, I think people will take the time to, people don't take enough time to kind of gauge what companies are needing. They read a job description, they apply for the job, but a lot of times it's not much more than that. So therefore, they kind of fall short into uh, meeting a company's expectation. But even beyond that, there's so much more to read. Even when you're interviewing and you're in the moment, there's still intel coming at you, and there's still a lot of intel coming at you. Uh, do you find that job seekers are having a hard time adapting to the conditions, not whether it's hot or cold or not, but perhaps they're if they're getting new information that they're not processing it, the ones that are having a challenge are not processing it in a way that they're able to give intelligent feedback or intelligent answers that are good enough for an employer to gather the information they need.
Really, you really hit the nail on. A lot of times, a job description is everything is put into that job description. For the interview, I always put together a list of questions. The interviewer, and one of those questions, what other than the job duties or requirements are you looking for? A lot of times, for example, description will be written by somebody without communication with the manager, whole different idea of what this job. So it's always good to ask, what requirements are there on the job? What is the most important thing? What do you so you get an understanding of the job and but you get an understanding of the company and what. One other thing I might say to make sure that you read and understand. I have had many instances where they read the job title and maybe only to come job description. They actually were not qualified. So read the job title description.
Yeah, that I think as well as if you could talk to people, use LinkedIn to look at their profiles, look at some of the conversations they had. If you're in an industry that's really specific, you can see what industry uh, and see if you have common industries that the people, the employees are in that you are in that has to do a lot with their job and being able to possibly even have some conversations with them or at least view what kind of conversations they're having about their jobs and their challenges. Because a lot of times when people say a lot of things that are relevant to you, if you can be that fly on the wall in some kind of way. So it may mean for you to use other means than just the job description alone. See if there's articles from the person you're interviewing, or just try to be a little bit more savvier in using tools at your hand, that where you can be on that fly on the wall, so that whenever you talk about your experience, you could talk in a way that will also resonate with who you're interviewing with.
Uh, and correct. I up and understand uh, using LinkedIn to see how long they've been with the company. If it's an in-person interview, for example, I strongly suggest if you're in somebody's office now, because you can get a real good idea of the kind of person they are. Worst thing in the world to do is to walk into somewhere they have nothing on their desk and nothing on the wall, kind of person you're looking at. And it's to make small level of comfort during the.
Yeah, with the last piece there got cut out, but we'll work with it through. I think more people, when they contact you and they can ask you questions about what you're seeing, or even if they need some feedback from you, they can contact you personally. How can people contact you if they're interested in what you're doing and how you're doing it?
Contacted at Mark at EM. That's like in boy, C like in Charlie, MLA. 118 987. And I would like to your listeners that perhaps my newly published book called Excuse that will give you not only finding the right career, the right company, but also every along the way to one. The whole theme of the book is don't let your career choose you, the career that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me repeat that back to everybody so that they can get that information. If you want to contact Mark, contact him at mark@bcm.la. And of course, you can get a hold of him on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn at Mark Brenner, SHRM. And then also his book is on Amazon. You can, if you don't want to go to the site, you can go to Amazon. It's your career, it's your choice. It's about choosing the right career for you instead of your career choosing you, so that you can land the right position in the right company. So I thank you very much, Mark, for being on with me. I'm going to recalibrate this and edit the video in such a way that it has much more answers come across smoother. Again, do apologize for hearing what you're hearing, but you can still get some information. I was able to get it. You can get it too. But in the meantime, we thank you very much for joining us on the Voice of Job Seekers podcast. We'll probably be on the podcast feed soon. And we thank you very much. In the meantime, peace and the God of love. I'm out. You all